Here's an example of substituting a value into a formula to find out what it is equal to. The question says, find the value of m by substituting the given value of the pronumeral into the formula. And so that's quite wordy, so let's break it down a little bit and see what it is actually asking us to do. It says find the value of m. Find our m value, which is here. We have m equals some complicated formula that we need to calculate. Well, we're finding what m is by substituting the given value of the pronumeral. Now the pronumeral, that's our letter or our variable, that's our g. So by substituting the given value of g into the formula, here's our formula, m equals 2, bracket g plus 1 and close brackets. And our first given value of g is 1. So the question is telling us substitute 1 into the formula where the g is and find out what m is equal to. Let's put some colors on here so it's easy to see. We know g is 1, and we're putting that in where the g is. So instead of g, we're going to have 1 in the formula. That's what substituting is. It's putting the number in where the letter was in the formula. Our letter or our variable or pronumeral is a placeholder for some number that we don't know yet. So what we do is we rewrite our formula, m equals 2, bracket, but instead of g, now we put in our number, which is 1 for us. 1 plus 1. So I'll put that the same color. And you can see that the formula that we just wrote, m equals 2, bracket 1 plus 1, close brackets, is exactly the same as this formula, except instead of the g, we have a 1. We substituted our 1 in there. Now let's find out what m is. Let's do some calculations. M equals, now here we have brackets, so that's our first operation using our BIDMAS rules that we need to solve. 2, bracket, 1 plus 1 is 2. Now you remember from a little bit earlier that we talked about how we write things algebraically. And you'll know that we don't write the multiplication symbol if we can help it. It's the only operation that sometimes we don't write. So if there's an operation missing, it's always multiplication. So between this 2 and the 2 in the brackets, there's actually a multiplication in there. We don't write it because it's more neat mathematically and algebraically, but it is in there. So what this is really equal to is 2 times 2. 2 bracket 2 in brackets is the same as 2 times 2. This way is more familiar, so it's easier for us to write it this way, but these two things do mean the same thing. So we know m is equal to 2 times 2 is 4. So if our g is 1, if we substitute 1 into the formula, then m would be equal to 4. We did the calculations and we showed that. So we can do the same thing when we have a different value of our pronumeral, when g is something different. Here in part B, g is a 0. So let's do this in a different color. We'll use blue for this one. G is 0. We're putting g into the formula. Or we're putting 0 into the formula where the g is. So once again, we rewrite the formula. M equals 2, bracket. Instead of g, our value of g is 0, so we can put 0 in there. Plus 1. And that looks exactly the same as our original formula, except we put 0 in where g was, because that's what our g is equal to. So we have m equals 2 times, or 2 bracket, means the same thing, 0 plus 1. We do what's inside the brackets first because of our BIDMAS rules. 0 plus 1 is 1. M equals. Now we have a similar format to what we saw over here. And we knew that 2 and then brackets with the 2 is the same as 2 times 2. So over here, 2 with 1 in brackets is the same as 2 times 1. Remember, if there's no operation in there, it has to be multiplication. That's the only operation that we sometimes don't write to make it more neat. So m is equal to 2. If g was 0, then m would be equal to 2. Let's have a look at part C. It tells us that g is equal to 12. So we'll highlight this in green, g in green. If g was equal to 12, what would m be equal to? That's what we're calculating now. So again, we rewrite our formula, m equals 2 brackets, except instead of g this time, our g will be equal to 12. We've decided g will be 12, it's been given to us, and so we write 12 in there, plus 1. The only thing that changes when we substitute is instead of writing in the pronumeral of the letter g, we put in our value or our number, which is 12. Now we do the same sort of solving. M equals 2 brackets. We do what's inside the brackets first. 12 plus 1 is 13. And we can rewrite this, remembering if there's no operation in there between the 2 and what's in the brackets, it means multiplication. So 2 times 13. 2 times 13 is 36. So when g is equal to 12, when our value of the pronumeral is 12, then m equals 36. We have one more example here that we can have a look at, part D. G equals 7. Do this one in pen. So we're putting our 7 in where the G is. G is equal to 7 in this example. And so, again, we rewrite our formula. We're substituting in the value. And to substitute, we rewrite it just as it is, but instead of our pronumeral, our G, we put in our value 7. So 7 plus 1. It's just the same as this, but instead of G, we put 7 in because that's what G is. G is equal to 7. So we have m equals 2 bracket 7 plus 1 is 8. Close our bracket. And you remember from the previous examples, if there's no operation, it's multiplication. 2 with 8 in brackets really means 2 times 8. Multiplication is the only operation that we don't write sometimes. And so when g is equal to 7, m equals 2 times 8, which is 16. So there you go. To substitute given values into the formula, what we do is we take the pronumeral that was in there and we replace it with whatever we've been told that that pronumeral is equal to, and then we work out what the answer is.